Hi everyone, my name is Pei and I'm a business developer for Sheepheads. My primary role is to help drive the adoption rate for Sheepheads, as well as sharing with agencies on how Sheepheads can help them. So for today's talk, I'll be sharing with you 3 key areas that I felt had the most queries when I was onboarding other agencies. Firstly, it will be the different packages available from you to choose from. Second, the onboarding process. And lastly, the roles and responsibilities. For the benefit of the viewers who are new to sheep and pets, I will quickly give you a short introduction. Sheepheads is a collection of commercial products put together to provide continuous integration and continuous delivery in the public sector. This is also known as CI/CD in short. The main reason why sheep and heads is so special or highly sought for is because it is designed to be compliant with the various government policies, such as IM8 and AIES. Hence, agencies are able to plan their work, check in codes, build, test, and deploy across environments without having to worry much about the security aspect. Sheep and heads is also part of Singapore government tech stack toolchain known as SGTS. I'm sure you all heard this term used widely in today's conference. So what exactly is SGTS? In short, SGTS is a suite of core and functional services for agencies to use so that they can focus on designing solutions without having to worry about the underlying infrastructure. This next slide is just a side note for people who do not have access to our government intranet. These are the 2 websites that you can visit to get more information, as well as the packages information for Sheepheads. On the left-hand side is our developers portal, and on our right is our very own Sheep and Heads portal. Next, let's quickly dive into the different packages available. I would like everyone to focus on the blue boxes on the screen. The first box shows the 4 different packages, or tiers as we call it. We have the starter tier, the squad tier, the team tier, and the tribe tier. Going down the column, you can see what is included in each tier. So let's take the team tier as an example. The team tier consists of 24 named users, 300 shared agent hours, 24 users for Nexus, 4 parallel shared mobile tests on pCloudy, shared desktop browsers, 15 basic languages for SonarQube, 445 apps, and 3 users for the release tool. Agencies are required to choose a base tier before they can include add-ons. The add-ons can be found at the right-hand column in the number 2 blue box. I would also like to highlight box number 3. It is our starter tier, and by default, it only comes with the development and build tools, which are your Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, Bamboo, and Nexus repo. However, it's also possible to add on heads tools or even the release tools to the starter tier. The question that almost every other agency will ask when they look at this table is, how do you decide which tier to subscribe to? First and foremost, the most important thing you would need to do is to discuss with your development team, be it your in-house team or your vendor, on what requirements or tools they require. Most of the time, you can find your answers there. Some other considerations that you can think through will be 1, how big is your development team? What stage is your project in? I would like you to try to focus on the starting point instead of the end point. Some agencies tell me that they are looking at 50 users, but my question back to them is, are all your 50 users going to onboard at the start? So my advice is to start small and to scale up as you go along. Agencies can increase as and when they want, but they are unable to reduce their usage within the 6 months of their subscription. This is to prevent agencies from requesting a high usage and end up not fully utilizing the licenses. However, those who are requesting for approval of budget from your bosses, please do take into account the incremental costs and the ultimate user count that you will require. Another question that will also affect your user quota is whether any of your stakeholders require access. A frequently asked question by agencies is whether do we offer floating users or users with read-only access? And will these users actually consume the quota? The answer is yes. So long as they require access to ship and heads, it will be considered as one named user and one quota will be consumed. With all these questions in mind, you'll be able to determine the user quota that is required. Next consideration will be how long will your build job take? And do you require elastic agents or remote agents for your build job? We recently had a feedback that a user thought that remote agents are given by default. I would like to clarify on this. By default, all tiers are given elastic agents only. Just a brief introduction on the terms. Elastic agents refers to the shared agents which are hosted by SHIP, whereas the dedicated remote agents are to be hosted by the agency side and is required to add on for any subscription. The next question will be, how do you decide when do you require a remote agent? This is entirely up to the agency. But if your build job needs you to connect back to your own resources or to run a parallel job, or you just want your agent to be on standby for your usage, you may consider adding on a remote agent. Next, moving on to the heads tools. Similar to the remote agent, Prisma Cloud, which is our container scanner, is also not included in any of the tiers. Should you require scanning of your containers, such as your Docker images, you are required to add them on too. Last two considerations to note will be how many applications or apps in short do you require to scan. This in turn will decide how many apps you require to add on to your subscription. So how are applications counted for 45? For example, if the agency system has two components, an intranet and an internet, these will be treated as two separate applications. Or let's say if the agency has several components such as an Android app, an iOS app, a website, and a web API, these will be treated as 4 different applications. Lastly, for SonarQube, you have to ensure that your languages that you're using are within the 15 languages stated in the slide. If not, you're required to add on the additional 7 languages. Do note there is no restriction of lines of code and the number of applications of SonarQube. Lastly, things for agency to note in regards to the pricing. The pricing stated on the intranet website is for per month, and our early adopter pricing has recently extended to 31st March 2022. During the early adopter phase, there is a 50% off, so please make full use of it. Lastly, the packages pricing can be found on the intranet only and is only for internal consumption. Now let's move on to the onboarding process. We have recently automated our onboarding process, and agencies will only need to provide us with the primary email contact. This email contact has to be a .gov.sg email, and we will initiate the onboarding process to the person to fill up. Do note that the link can only be accessible through an internet machine, and most of the time, the email will turn up in your junk or spam mailbox. Once filled up, the BD team will review the onboarding form before the system pushes the agreement to the approval stated in your onboarding form. Once the approver responds to the email indicating his approval, it will be sent back to the BD team for verification before the accounts are being provisioned. Once verified, the subscription admin will be provisioned almost immediately. So do take note that if you require to start at a later time, please indicate in the onboarding form. If not, charging will commence once the accounts have been provisioned. Another thing to take note is that for ship heads, we do not have prorate. So I will always recommend for agencies to start on the first week of the month to fully utilize the subscription. Once the subscription admin accounts have been provisioned, they will need to log into ShipHead's portal and head to the User tab to invite their users to set up their own accounts. Subscription admins will only need to key in the user's email address and they will be able to receive the invite. A more detailed explanation on how to use the ShipHead portal for the subscription admins will be covered in the 2:45 p.m. talk under the government track conducted by my colleague Denise. Do head over if you are most probably going to be the subscription admin. We have come to the last portion of my presentation. Remember seeing those purple bolded text in the previous slide? Those are the different roles that you'll be playing either as an admin or a user. In every subscription, there can only be 2 subscription admins. These are your primary and secondary contact that you have indicated in the onboarding form. They can only be agency staff, and they are the ones that we will liaise with for your subscription. As the subscription admin, you will have the most access rights in the entire subscription. And as mentioned earlier, the subscription admin is required to invite their team members to the project. Subscription admins are the ones to assign project admin roles. Your responsibility as a project admin, as a subscription admin, is to perform regular user access reviews and to take note on who has been given an account but did not log in. Our system will automatically deactivate users who have not logged in for more than 90 days. And the subscription admin will then need to resend the invitation link to the user to reactivate their account. The subscription admin are also the ones to reach out to the BD team if they require an increase in their quota or licenses. In the future, we'll be including a feature to allow subscription admins to increase their usage on their own on the ShipHeads portal. The next role will be the project admin. Project admin are the admins of the project within a subscription. A project admin can be the project admin for multiple projects within a subscription. The project admin only has rights to access his or her own projects, and they are able to manage their team members' access within the project. So the main difference between the subscription admin and the project admin is that you can only have two subscription admin, but you can have more than 2 project admins. And in order to have project admins, you are required to get your subscription admin to assign them. The last role in the team will be the team member. They are the ones working on the project that they have been granted access to, and it is possible to grant them multiple project access. The project admins or subscription admins just have to do so. Team members will not be able to grant any access to other users, and I would like to highlight that their responsibility is to ensure his or her security of his account. And to do so is by logging off your VPN when you are not using it, and to not share your credentials with other people. On the right, I have added another role as I received quite a number of queries on this. For your approval, it should be signed by your MIC, and MIC stands for Manager in Charge. But I believe this term is only commonly used in GovTech. For other agencies, usually a Deputy Director and above should have appropriate approving authority. If you're unsure, please do check with your procurement officer on this. Now that we have cleared the Ship Tools roles, let's move on to the Heads roles. Heads have 3 different types of roles. The first role will be the security lead. This role will be able to review findings, suppress findings, check and verify audit issues, as well as everything that the security tester can do. This role should be given to a development lead of the project, and he or she should be equipped with the necessary knowledge to review the findings uncovered by Fortify SCA and to be able to understand what a false positive is and to proceed with suppressing these issues. The second role will be the security tester. They are individuals who provide comments on the issues uncovered within the SSC so that he or she can provide more contextual information to the security lead. This will help to facilitate faster reviewing of the results on each scan. So just to recap, the main difference of a security lead and the security tester will be that the security lead will be the one to suppress findings, and the security lead will be the one to check and verify issues related to the scans. Lastly, the viewer role is to allow the developers themselves to find the exact line of code that is deemed vulnerable and rectify the issue easily. This role also can be given to stakeholders to only view the results, but they would not be able to interfere with the remediation process. So one of the tools that we recently introduced to shipheads is digital.ai, formerly known as Zebra Labs. For Zebra Labs, there are 3 different roles: a release engineer, release manager, and a machine service account. Just a reminder that the release tools are only accessible through government-issued laptops, and the release engineer is to do the initial configuration and technical setup of the release workflow. The individual does not have permission to deploy, and this will be done at the release manager portion. The release manager is the one to approve the final deployment to production, as well as triggering of any rollbacks. Lastly, the service account is an account used for automated tasks in the release workflow. For my last slide, I have picked out a few frequently asked questions that I would like to highlight. So first one will be, can I create multiple projects within a subscription? The answer is yes, you may create multiple projects, and currently there isn't any additional charges. However, agencies are required to do yearly spring cleaning of the projects and archive any that they are not using. The second question will be, what is the lead time for onboarding requests? As mentioned earlier, provisioning of ship and heads account is almost immediate. However, for the team to verify, we are looking at 1 to 3 working days turnaround timing. However, for the entire onboarding process, this will depend largely on how fast the agency seeks approval or requests for budget. So do try to get this done earlier before you request for onboarding. My last advice is for you to read up on the documentations on the tools and to start using the pipeline as soon as possible. With actual usage, we will be able to understand the tools better and to ask questions more geared towards your usage pattern. I have come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you have found this presentation useful. Should you have further queries, feel free to reach out to myself and the team listed below in this slide. Thank you.